good evening. Let me just check the sound here. Oh, we got problems. Alright, so that should fix the sound. Double check here. Yeah, it looks like it should be good now. Let me just turn off this other song here. Okay. Alright. So, good evening, guys. It's another Tuesday night live. And see what's going on this week. Hope you all had a good week. I was out of town visiting family Thursday till last night, so we had a good time, and did a lot of driving. Had to go up to Jacksonville. Sorry about that. Had to go up to Jacksonville, and that's where we visited my mother-in-law and sister-in-law and brother-in-law, and they're my two nieces and their friend that was coming from out of town. And it was great, but we had already had plans to run Leo's car at Bradenton on Sunday. That was made a month ago. So Sunday morning I woke up bright-eyed, bushy-tailed at 3:15 in the morning and got in the truck and drove to Bradenton. And actually drove to Leo's, and we hauled the car to the track and met Billy, our driver, and we went ahead and made a couple licks on the car. And even though we had thought that we had everything under control, once again, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. So we'll go over that in a little bit. I made a little video, and we can go over what some of the data logs and stuff, and we'll see what happened there. But we're making progress. I mean, the car's leaving the line good now. We're just having issues with boost. Even with the brand new turbo, we're still having issues with boost. So we'll keep working on that. I've gave a call to ATP Turbo, who sold us the cartridge unit, and they got their tech guys working on it. So we'll see what arises from that information. But yeah, so that was a bummer. But, I mean, like I said, we made some progress. So, but then after the test session was over, I went ahead and drove back to Jacksonville and had dinner up there. And then the wife and I drove home yesterday afternoon. But it was a great visit with the family, and everything was it was all pretty cool. So. So the last couple weeks we've been going over the chassis dynamics stuff. Hopefully you guys got some stuff out of that. Got some questions in the chat, but not sure. I don't know if everybody got what I was talking about, or maybe they did, and it was clear as day. So either way, we'll move on. So this week we'll go ahead and do a rundown on the Studebaker. But if anybody has any mechanical parts of the car they'd like to see future topics, put it up in the chat or leave it in the comments. I always read all the comments, and if you've ever left a comment, you see I usually answer it relatively quickly. I try to do it within 10-15 minutes. So the channel is making progress. I almost have the video for the Bert's AMC Gremlin turbo motor done. I got 90% of it finished and realized that I didn't make a final ending to the video. So I'm going to go ahead and try to do that tomorrow so we can get that video up, and hopefully get Rihanna done this week so I can go to work on the burnout car, the NASCAR, get the engine assembled in that, and finish up Mike's Trans Am. I got a bunch of parts in while I was out of town, so should be able to get a lot of stuff done this week. I have to do a chassis alignment up at DNR for them, and I have to go see Joe with the '69 Camaro. He's got a stalling issue. I'm gonna go check that out. So I'll try to get some video on those things, and that's about where we were at with everything. I guess I'll wait a couple more minutes, see if a couple more people come in, but yeah, so hopefully this is episode 43, so I can't believe we're getting near a whole year of doing these Tuesday night lives. I hope you guys are enjoying them, and like I said, if there's anything you guys want to share, whether you want to share pictures of your own builds, or there's a certain thing you're having troubles with and you want to discuss it on the live show, you can always email me or text me during the week, and then I can put something together for the show, or if you want, just jump on the chat and we can go from there. So that's just for food for thought for everybody in the future. We can kind of get keep this thing moving along. I'm thinking I'm going to have to start redoing going over some of the stuff we did in the past. I kind of get, with Rihanna drag car in here, I kind of got stalled a little bit in the shop as far as getting things done. As you guys know, the grudge cars, I don't show a lot of video on those cars. So it's kind of messed me up for getting more information for the show. Excuse me. Sorry about that. So, I guess, yeah, so let's go ahead and made this little video for of the weekend. Like I said, it wasn't the greatest outing, but we did make some progress. So let me go ahead and bring that up. So here's a little video I made on this. I'll let it play, and then if you guys see anything, put it up in the chat and we can go back over it. Here we go. So this is the first run of the day. So I'm going to stop it right there. The bad thing about making 2D and 1D tables in Holly is that you have to make sure you get all your settings correctly. So I found after this run, I mean, you could hear it on the video, it sounded like it was on the two-step. And what actually happened was I made a variable launch rev limiter in the Holly tune, and I activated it by trans brake. But what I failed to think about was there was no way once it was activated by trans brake, it stayed on the entire run. So we had to ditch that function for the rest of the day until I could get some time to look at what was going on. So here's the rest of the video. This is run 2. And that run, actually, Billy was able to stay on power all the way down the track. He did, I think he might have short shifted with a 1-2 shift, but it went all the way down the track. It ran a 899, I believe it was. I didn't write down the data because it wasn't anything spectacular, but with the variable rev limiter turned off so it wouldn't stay on going down the track, that obviously the car ran a lot cleaner down the track. It was a little rich on fueling, and then we kind of messed around with that a little bit in the future run. So here comes run number 3. Hey Ryan, glad to have you out here. Chris, glad to see you're on. Sorry your power's out. I know trying to look on a cell phone's a little hard for that little screen, so you have to watch it in the replay. Get more watch hours that way. Well, anyway, so we were messing around with fueling, and I pulled a bunch of fuel out, and then the car didn't want to run. It went dead lean, and when we get into logs, I think I figured out why it was doing it, but that was the run. That was run number 3. Now we're going to go into run number 4, and we were all. My buddy Mike Burrell was there with his 6-cylinder dragster. Now he's got an old school GM 292. I think it's punched out. It's got a 4-inch bore. It's kind of like a street performance motor in his dragster. He's just trying to get laps in it, and before he gets his race engine back from the machine shop. So. So there's a little snippet of Mike going down the track. Oh, I did mention, I think on the run before, it was an 899, so it was pretty decent. And Mike on this run, I think he went a 914 with his dragster, with basically maybe a 400 horsepower 6-cylinder in it. So it was pretty impressive. So we'll go back to the video. So you can see Mike's, there he is, he was right in front of us. And there he goes. Hey Bill, glad you're able to make it out tonight. So that was run 4, I believe. Yeah, because we were in the right lane. The track was really bad. You see Billy was getting out. It looked like he was getting out of the groove. He was looking for some traction on the track. We started playing around with tire pressure, and we loosened up the compression on the shocks. And on the last final run that's coming up, you actually see it actually tried to pick the front tires up, and if you've listened closely, I don't know how well the sound is on your guys' end, but you can hear the tires skirting off the starting line. So they're trying to turn, trying to spin a little bit, which is perfect. And we were able to get down to a 130 60 foot. It's not personal best by any means, but from where we were at when the car wouldn't even leave the starting line, where we did make some huge headway at that point. So one of the things that we were fighting with was with fueling. So on this last run, I put the run number 2 fueling back in, and we messed around with the anti-lag program a little bit to try to get that straightened out. So that was actually our best run and the last run of the day. So let's go and watch that. See if I can bring that back. I don't know how good I can do this. Now that's a pretty good shot right there. You can see the tires wrinkled pretty good, and the front tire is getting pretty light on the track surface. It probably hopped just such a short distance that we weren't able to actually see it in slow motion. But anyway, so that was our test day. Good, bad, and different. I'm going to show you what we did. So we got the 60 foot working pretty good. We have the car leaving at about 12 pounds of boost. Going back over the data logs today, I see I had made a couple mistakes. Unfortunately, when you're playing around with the 1D and the 2D tables, you can manipulate a lot of things, but you have to make sure you catch all the scenarios that could happen so that it doesn't fight you. And that's what we were working with this weekend. So like I said, I made the file for the variable RPM, so as the car got into boost, it would get up to the rev limiter, and then as boost came in, the rev limiter would move higher up to allow the engine to get to a higher RPM. That worked, except for the fact that it didn't shut off. I didn't have any safeties in there to shut it off. So that was number one mistake I made, which I'm going to work on that now. I think one of the ways I can do it is with the dry shaft sensor. As soon as the dry shaft sensor sees 1 mile an hour, it'll turn off. I think that'll be quick enough, being I have a 16 tooth dry shaft sensor on this thing. It should see as soon as the car moves, it should release it. So that should help. And then I found out that my anti-lag tunes were doing the same thing. So they were looking for rev limiter, and one was set up on rev limiter, one was set up on at launch, and those parameters weren't being met, so they weren't working properly. Mike says, sure beats the hell out of the days of pulling fuel bowls and changing jets. Yes, you are right. There's no way I could have, did the in-between rounds tuning on this car and helping Mike with his race pack with his data logs and giving him access. I was helping him with tuning on his car also. He was actually making the physical changes. The dragster has Webers on it, so he can have that. I'm done with carburetors for the most part. So, but I still had to, go over read his data, tell him what he was doing, and as he kept leaning the motor out. He kept progressively getting faster. We started out with a 915, went to a 914, and then after a jet change, it went to a 911, and it needed one more jet change, but he decided he had enough runs on his spare engine that he didn't, I mean, not going to race that engine. Comp eliminator, the car's not nearly fast enough for comp eliminator, but at least he got some laps in the car and dialed in that motor and working on all the things, all the systems that you need to work, make sure the trans works and all that stuff. So, hey John, how you doing? So that was a day full of work. If we were doing carburetor jet changes, we would have never got that many passes on the car. So let me change the screen here. I'm going to just minimize that, and then I want to bring up data log. Let me just get this all set up. Open a data log. No, it's global file. We don't want global file. Sorry about that. I should have had this already queued up. Okay. Sorry about that. So here's the data log from run 2, and this run was the 899 run. So put my glasses on here. Let me switch here. I need to zero this out. I did this in my laptop already, but I didn't do it here. So there's a 0 point. A couple of things I noticed. I've been so busy looking at the tunes on this car, I'm not paying attention to the data logs, and I realized that the data log's set up on one sample per second, so I got to fix that because that's not enough information. But so let me switch this back. This is our drag race file, which we got RPM. You can see Billy short shifted 1-2 and the 2-3. 7800 actually, that was actually pretty good there, but the 1-2 shift, he short shifted about 7,000, so pretty good. So here's our dry shafts. Was going 6,466 RPMs at the finish line. Couple of things that we noticed though. Let me switch this to fuel tuning, and let me switch this color screen. Hopefully I can make it a little better for you guys. Hopefully that's better. So this purple line here is our timing map on the engine, and you can see here there's a green line that drops down and goes off. Well, that line there is my timing retard for anti-lag, but you can see that it stayed on for a full second after the car launched, so it was leaving the line with way retarded timing. So that's why if we go back to the green line here, that made it more confusing. Let me knock a couple things off of here. We don't need TPS. Let's get rid of map. Air fuel ratios. We can get rid of that stuff right now. So, I can get rid of boost. So this green line is RPM, and this 0 is where the trans brake was released. And you can see it went up, and then the timing came in, and it kind of labored around a little bit, and then finally went up and Billy shifted. So if we add boost pressure to it, we can see that when it left the line, because of the retard, it actually lost boost a little bit and then started building back up, and actually didn't peak until after the 1-2 shift, which the peak was only 15.5 pounds of boost. So there is our first, I got a couple things in the software I got to fix, but that was our first big issue right there, is that I've adjusted the wastegate to open at 22 psi. So, and I smoked the exhaust, and I smoked the intake to make sure that there was no leaks in the system, and there's 0. So now that we've confirmed all these things, we've confirmed when the wastegate opens, and like I said, I smoked the systems. We have no leaks, so now that's showing that we have a problem with the turbo itself. Now, what we did with the turbo, I probably explained this probably a dozen or so shows ago, but the turbo that was on the car was discontinued. The thing was, I don't know when it was originally purchased, but it was on Cunningham's Nova for Hot Rod Drag Week in 2005. So it was at least purchased in 2005 or earlier. Well, anyway, Garrett discontinued that turbo. So we went to a newer turbo, that same housing size, a GTX. The one that was on it was a GT 4788, and we moved up to the GTX 4718R, which is a ceramic bearing. It's got a more volume of air on the intake side, so they raised the maximum, quote unquote, horsepower from 1500 to 1650. So that should be a gain. You know, the turbo should be able to supply another 150 more horsepower than the old one. But we reused our turbine housing. One, because the wastegate is built onto it, so it's a custom piece and would be a problem to change. And two, we were told that it would be interchangeable. So it saved some money for Leo, and got us what we needed. So I made a call out to ATP today, and we're trying to figure out now why, with a sealed exhaust system, a sealed pressure system, and on the cold side, and the wastegate, we know when it's popping off at. Why are we not even hitting the wastegate? So we'll see. They asked for some pictures and some. I wrote up a whole thing of all the information. So we'll see what happens with that. Hopefully, we'll get some information out of that and be able to figure out why we had that. But on the good side of that is an 890 pass with only 15 pounds of boost. I mean, we're down 400 horsepower from where we should be. So we're seeing twinkles of light at the end of the tunnel, but we still don't see the full picture yet. But we're making progress. We were having, the last time we ran the car wouldn't leave the starting line. It didn't make any power to half track. We knew we were down on boost at that point, but we weren't sure where the wastegate was. We weren't sure if it was because it was lagging so bad off the starting line. So we couldn't condemn anything on the turbo side until we got the front half of the track straightened out. Now that we've confirmed all these things, we're making boost on the starting line, and we're just not making it going down the track. So those are the things, you just got to keep plucking away. We've been 5 years... well, not 5 years, about 3.5 to 4 years since the car made its 804 pass. And, in your mind, you say, oh, just fix all the problems you had and you'll be right back there. Well, the thing is, we've changed so much stuff over the years, chasing bad engines and then a bad turbocharger when the turbine wheel had been beat to crap and it wasn't working anymore. So now we got to kind of backtrack and figure out all the things that we did wrong and put them back right. And we're making good progress. So once we get this boost situation figured out, I think we're going to be really good. And I've realized a couple of things I made wrong in the data are in the Holly system. So with straightening that out, I think we'll be in good shape. So let me show you. So this is the repair file. Let me put the file back that we ran on the second run. Okay, so here's the run from the second run. And we go to our 1D and 2D tables. You can see on the 1D, my computer's a little slow, I apologize. Come on. Here we go. So this was our boost builder on that for that second run, and you can see that when the rev limiter is on, there was a problem. It pulls out 10 degrees of timing. The problem is it doesn't get to the rev limiter till almost the last second of the run. So that I had to change to trans brake button. So now when it sees the trans brake button, it immediately pulls out timing per wherever it's at in the KPA map. So that was one problem that I made. I overlooked it. I figured rev limiter, yeah, that's what we want on the rev limiter, but not thinking about what that actually meant. That means it's not going to do it till the rev limiter actually is engaged. So it was barely getting there. So that was that. And then our fueling offset was the same thing. So there it goes. So again, we're adding fuel to make more boost on the trans brake, but again, it's not going to do it till the rev limiter is on. And so that was wrong. We needed it to do that beforehand. So that's why you could hear Billy sitting on the starting line for a couple, 2-3 seconds trying to build the boost up before we launched. He did a good job. The car launched at our 12.5 pounds every run, but I want it to happen much quicker. And then the big issue mistake that we made, well, that's not going to be in this run. I got to go back to run 1. And I don't know if you guys, if you can see this well, but you see how my filing system is. Every time we go to the track or dyno, I've got a file set for it. So here's our Bradenton Motorsports Park 42824. So all of our runs, there's the tune for every one of those runs. So right now, it doesn't mean a lot, except for trying to make the car run better every run. But eventually, we'll be able to build up a library of tunes so that when we go to different events, we can pull from another tune that says, I would change the name to say on this one, run 5, which was the best. I could put best run of date and then put that on there, and then we could always go back to it if we were ever stuck. So anyway, just wanted to show you guys that. So go back to our run 1. And then pull up our 2D map. And again, gotta wait for my computer to think about it. Okay, so what I did here, and you can see the green line, that's showing where the data log was, where it ran through the run app. Now you can see here was another time where I made a very simple mistake. Here for the switch enable, I put at launch. Well, the at launch isn't even well, it is engaged because it did come on, but the problem is there's no off. And at launch, so trans brake and rev RPM, rev limiter number 1, both of those are activated when the trans brake button is held. When the trans brake button is released, those units are released. The problem is at launch is more of a timer. It's going to turn on when you launch and then run for however many seconds you have. Well, I don't even have the time delay for start. I don't even have it engaged. And I had a second advanced enable TPS above 0. So of course it's wide open throttle. So of course it's above 0. So this was on me. And so of course for a good while the engine was holding the rev limiter the way I had it set up. So we shut that off and the car ran fine. So that was our weekend. Let me go back and see. Let's go ahead and pull up the data log for number 1. And again, I got my data log set up in the same filing system. So it's under Leo, and then Bradenton Motorsports test with the date, and then of course each run's got its listing. So this one is run 4. I never changed it. I'll do that later. So yes, we want to save the adjustment we did to run 2. And I believe this was yes, okay. So this was the mess that we had here on run one. Let me change the background screen. And so we had two kind of issues going with this one. Let me set a 0 point. Oh, I got 0 point right here. So you can see Billy got wide open throttle. It started to come up in RPM. And at the launch, it got to 4,800 RPMs. And then it was hitting the rev limiter. And then, unfortunately, Billy decided to lift. And then he pedaled the throttle, trying to get the rev limiter to shut off. He wasn't sure what was going on. I don't blame him, but that's why that run one was such a mess. So once I heard the car leave the starting line, I knew what was wrong. So like I said, we shut off the that variable rev limiter, and then that fixed that problem. So I guess the last run we should look at is run 5, which was our best run of the day. Excuse me. So here we've already got our 0 point set. Now on this run, I think we might have overshot the RPM a little bit on this. But well, let me change the background color. There. So, we got up to 4,500 on the launch RPM. The timing retard did come in, but again, you can see it took over a second to turn off because of the way the settings were set in the computer. I tried changing them, but it wasn't enough. On this run, we did make a total of 16.4 pounds of boost, but still nowhere near where it's supposed to be. And Billy shifted the car right at about 8150, 8100 on the 8100 on the 1.2 and 2.3 8200. So he was pretty close on the shift light. The tack in the car is not the best tack in the world, so he's got to kind of soak the light, and we're still playing around with that. But that was where we were at. That's our target AFR and our actual, and we were pretty close to the actual AFR going down the track. Obviously here we've got the additional fuel going in for the turbo lag, which doesn't turn off right away, so it keeps the engine fat for quite a while. So that's something we're going to be working on in the future. And but going down the track, the AFR was really close, and it performed. It was I think it was a 891. So we were really close to where we wanted to be. We'll go to RPM, yeah, so 64, 66 in dry shaft speed, so we were pretty close there. So we'll see. I mean, this is a kind of a cool thing here with the once we have some clean runs, we'll be able to see how much slip the converter has, because we know going through the traps we were at 7,000 RPM and the dry shaft was at 64, 66, a little tick under 6,500. So that's showing the converter was slipping, but it wasn't under power, so we can't use that information right now. But it's the things that you can see when you're on the when you have data log. And I want to go back here to, there's our start point, and you can see that on this run the rev limiter wasn't even contacted at that point. So those are the things we got to work on some more. Get the anti-lags. I got them all set up now on trans brake, so as soon as the button's released, they go off, and that should be good. I've got to put more resolution in the data logs. I didn't realize that it was on 1 second like that. So those are things we're gonna change for the future. But that was our weekend outing, and updates on the 4200. Of course, it's not just throw it together and go make a fast lap and shout and scream. So the amount of time we get to spend with the car and on the track is very far and few between. So it seems like these gains are coming very, very slowly. But in actuality, we've only got 10 passes on the engine so far, and I feel we've made some pretty big strides. We went from 170, 180, 60 foots down to 130, which I think is going to pay dividends once we get the other things straightened out and the motor can leave under power. I want to change the rebound settings on that last run. It's hard to see. If I show a slow-mo, you would see the car is now squatting when it leaves the line, but then it bounces up right away. So the rebound is set too soft. So we got to tighten up the rebound so it holds the body down over top of the tire. But that's the first time we've made any shock adjustments on this car since those shocks went on it 3.5 years ago. So those are one of the things that we changed when we were chasing problems, and we never were able to do anything with it because we never were able to get down the track under power. So again, it's this evolution that we have to, one by one, meticulously pick through the data, fix something, at least one thing every time we go out to the track, and eventually we will have all of our T's crossed and all of our I's dotted, and we'll be able to make that 7-second pass, and we'll be, you'll hear us roaring from the pit, from the track, wherever you are, I'm sure. It's going to be special, and of course that will then undoubtedly make us the world's fastest 4200 in a door car. I think the 804 has already got us there, but we want 7 seconds. We want to put a stamp on it, because the other two cars that we know about, comp eliminator cars, one was a dragster, one was a comp eliminator altered, and those are 1,500-1,600 pound purpose-built race cars. They're not a street car converted to a race car, stuff like that. So I don't think we can really think that they would hold a record over a door car. But eventually, I think the fastest lap for the dragster, I think, or the altered, I forget which one it was like a 775 or something like that. So I want to even beat that record. So it's just clear as day, we hold all the fastest runs in any 4200 race car. So, but that'll be down the road. Obviously, we have to get all these other hurdles fixed first. And of course, now the weather is fighting us, so we're not going to have the killer turbo weather till next fall. So, but we're going to still keep tuning and keep making runs. Our goal is to make 28 pounds of boost going down the track, and I'd like to see a 1-teen 60 foot. If we can do a 1-teen 60 foot and we can make 28 pounds of boost, we will have no issues in my eyes going 775. Ryan says, but you're gaining on it all the time. Yep, that's right. We're not, after the first run, we went back to the pits, and my head was hung, and Leo and Teri could see that I was frustrated, and I don't usually show my frustrations very often, but it was a kick in the groin for sure. But I looked at the data, and right away I saw issues that we had, corrected those, and then the car went and made an 8-second pass. That's the first time it's been an 8-second pass in 3 years. So that was, then we were like, all right, now we have something to work with. Then I was chasing the fuel tuning, not realizing the analag was where all the extra fuel was coming from. So I was having a problem because at the beginning of the run it would be really fat, and at the end of the run it would clean up. And it didn't dawn on me right away. It took 2 more test runs, so I realized what was going on. I put the Run 2 tune back in, and then made the corrections on the analog stuff, and then the car went on the 5th run. It went right down the track and picked up a little bit, and he hit the shift points, and everything went the way it was supposed to go. So at the end of the day, I was happy with where the advances we made. Not quite what we're looking for, but at least we're going in the right direction. So we'll let you guys know when I hear from ATP what they think is going on with the turbo. I'm hoping that there's a wheel design change between the two cartridges. So yes, the housing will work, but no, it increases the AR ratio or some crazy thing like that. So I do data log turbo back pressure, and currently I've only seen 1 psi of back pressure. So there's no, that's where our turbo where our boost issue is. There's no pressure in the turbine housing to spin the turbo shaft, which then turns the compressor shaft to make the boost. That's what's happening. As soon as it starts getting up in boost, obviously it gets harder to turn the shaft, and there's just not enough exhaust pulses or exhaust pressure to push the wheel to advance. So once we figure out that issue, that should get us in the ballpark. We're going to be probably going to the track in the end of May. I think that's when the next race is. Excuse me. Sorry, I should have had this information already ready. Yeah, so May 19th looks like the next Bradenton Test and Tune. So that'll be our goal, to make that event, and then hopefully we don't have anything else overriding. We're going to be doing a lot of testing with Rihanna 2.0 here shortly, the 484 big block nitrous grudge car, and all the components are coming back for the Smurf. So I hope to have Rihanna done this week and then put the Smurf together next week. So busy couple weeks, and then we want to test that. We want to test those cars probably, if I have everything finished, right after Mother's Day. So busy in the shop. And again, like I was saying in the beginning of the show, if you guys have any pictures of your rides you want to share with the group, or if you have questions on something, if there's something mechanically or electrically in your project that you're fighting with, drop me an email or leave a comment, put it in the chat, whichever way you prefer, and we can go over it and we'll give us something for future episodes. Being that I'm doing all this thrashing on these grudge cars, and I can't show a lot of that filming. I can't even film it, so it doesn't give me a lot of food for future issues or future episodes. Yeah, Mike, I have to. You have to send me that picture of that crank. We'll put that up next week. So Mike's GM Tech, and he had was that a 5.3, Mike? But it was a LT, I believe, and crank snapped in half. Pretty wild. I haven't seen. Excuse me. I've had a little scratch in the throat here for a couple days. But I haven't seen a LS or LT production crank snap on a naturally aspirated engine, a stock engine, before. So Mike and I were talking last week about it last weekend, and he said he looked all over the truck and in the ECU and doesn't see any reports of any changes, or like if somebody had a supercharger on it and then took it off when they broke it and put the stock stuff back on. No, that's never happened before. But that was crazy back in the Mustang days, man. People were doing all kinds of stuff like that. Superchargers and break the thing and, put it all back to stock and take it back. I don't know what happened. I need the car warranted. Mike says, yeah, it was a 2019 5.3. So LT platform. So, yeah, those cranks are supposed to be good. I've seen guys making 1,300 horsepower on one of those stock cranks, and on the LS and the LT, 5.3 up to a 6.2, it's the same crankshaft. 4.8 is a shorter stroke crankshaft, and of course on the LS is the 7.0 is a 7 liters a different crankshaft. But there's basically one casting number for different platforms. They all use the same stroke. So those cranks are very beefy. So there had to be some type of flaw in the casting in that one, because I believe Mike said it was a low mileage vehicle too. So crazy what you see when you work at the dealership, though. So Mike says, find it hard to believe it was modified and the ECU has all stock calibrations. Right. So I mean, it had to be a flaw in the part. My first thought was some trickery, because back in the day that was always a big thing with the Mustangs. Can't tell you how many cars that went back with broken T5 transmissions and supercharged cars with a cracked block and stuff. And of course, everybody would put all their stock stuff back on, make the car look stock, and try to get all the shoe polish residue out of the glass. So the dealerships got kind of smart after a while. They'd try to fog the glass by putting a little heat on it or whatever, and making condensation on the glass, and you could see the shoe polish markings on the glass, even though it wasn't there. It was wiped off, but you could see the residue from inside the pores of the glass. So, and then they would obviously void the warranty. So the dealers had to get smart back then, because people were doing all kinds of things to their cars and getting factory warranties done over them. So I'm sure it's happened on the GM stuff too in the earlier days. And then thinking back on an LT, obviously that's going to be a lot harder combination to do a supercharged swap and intake swap back and stuff with the direct injection and all that. And you really never, especially on the newer vehicles, it's really hard to get all of the wiring and all that stuff back all in its proper places. And of course now the ECUs can store the calibration, so you can tell if somebody's flashed it. So obviously the manufacturers got smart. They didn't want to keep having to buy defective warranted items. So but yeah, appreciate Mike when every time you get something odd and you send the pictures. That was we talked a couple months ago about the variable rocker and cam or variable lifter, I believe it was, issue. That was a pretty cool one also. So, well, that's all I really have for this week for you guys. We out of town for 4 or 5 days, so that kind of made the work week short. But hopefully we can start getting some more of these projects caught back up and get some more information out there for you guys. And look for the AMC turbo 6-cylinder video. I should be dropping that one day this week. I just got to do the final video. Most of the editing is already done. And then, of course, in a couple weeks, once I get all these other cars caught up, then we'll get Bert's car in here and do the engine swap, and we'll get some dyno runs on there and some Holly tuning information on that. So that'll be a future episode. So I guess that's all we have for tonight. So I'll bid you guys a farewell, and hope you all have a good week, and we'll go from there. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Give the video, the live show, a thumbs up if you don't mind. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. It's always good to it helps the algorithm, even though we are already monetized. But all those things help the algorithm to push the video to new people. And of course, if you ring the bell and all that stuff, you guys will get instant notifications of when I drop videos. So I appreciate it. I see Mike said good night. Say good night to all the guys, Ryan and Bill and Chris and John, that were on the chat tonight. And I appreciate it all. And hopefully Chris is going to be getting close to getting his car running. We'll be able to get some stuff on that. We'll try to do a show on his car once he's got it back up and running, and get some pictures and stuff of it. So with that, we'll see you all later. See ya. See ya.